Joining us right now, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary Scott Turner, is in the building here at the White House. Mr. Secretary, nice to see you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's pretty cool to be sitting here with you for a bunch of reasons, including that you are a Washington Redskin. You did that for 3 years,
yes,
right here in our area. And you know, it's one of the burning questions I have for you is about name changes. I've got two. Ready?
Yes.
Should they change back to the Washington Redskins, and should you change the name of the agency you work for, the Housing and Urban Development?
I would say yes. I want a lot of people, millions of people want the Redskins to get their name back. There was a lot of pride in playing for the Washington Redskins, both for those who played, for the fans, and I believe also for the tribal nations. And obviously, I can't speak for them, but what I've seen, you know, there was a lot of pride in that.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage them to get the name back.
Yes.
And as far as HUD goes, you know, yes, that is something that I have been thinking about a great deal, is the name of HUD. And it's more than just a name, you know, it's the spirit of HUD, it's the culture of HUD. But, you know, the name does say a lot.
Well,
so I think we're going to get back with you on the name change.
I hope you do. It says, so what it says is urban development, housing and urban development, but it's an agency that does a lot more than that, right?
That's right. We do. We serve all communities. We serve urban, tribal, and rural.
Yeah.
We are community builders, community servants. And so I think in the days ahead, you will see that mantra and that culture and heartfelt theme coming to pass.
I hope so. You know, every administration, you get a big change in policy at all of these agencies, and you know, people may not focus on housing and urban development as much as they should have, given its importance in the federal government.
Right.
But when President Trump was in office, he tried to stop having the federal government get involved in local communities and force communities that didn't want high-density housing to have it. And then Biden comes into office, and they change back. And they say, you know what, you're going to take it whether you like it or not. We're going to jam high-density housing into your community. What's the approach now with you as in charge?
Thank you. And I'm in agreement, obviously, with you and with President Trump. You know, it's the local municipalities, the local governments that need to have the rulemaking authority, to have the flexibility, to have the control and build in their communities. Every community is different.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some common needs across the country, but every community, a community in California is different than a community in Texas or Boston or Indiana.
For sure.
And so to restore local control is a big priority of ours. You know, I've come from the construction development business and understand how important it is to have relationships locally and not to have the federal government mandating with burdensome regulations. And so, yes, that is a top priority for us.
That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. One of the areas that your agency focuses on is homelessness.
Yes.
We've got a lot of homeless people in the country. In fact, in 2024, you know, that's the highest level of homelessness we've ever recorded.
Yes, sir.
And the reason for that, apparently, was the border crisis. The border crisis created all of this homelessness. What's the state of affairs right now?
Well, you're right. The Biden administration, HUD, in December the 27th of 2024, the point-in-time report came out of over 770,000 homeless people on one single night in January, and many of those were families. And that is an all-time high. It's an 18% increase in 1 year and almost a 30% increase over 3 years. And so we know we have to do something about homelessness, including bringing in outside faith-based entities who are doing this on an everyday basis in their localities. And immigration, to your point, was a huge factor. Illegal immigration was a huge factor in homelessness.
So was housing and urban development, was the agency spending a ton of money on housing illegals?
Yes, so there's been record funding for HUD across the board. And we are doing an assessment and inventory right now of every program at HUD. Where is the money being spent? Is the money being spent appropriately? Are we serving those? Are we serving the American people? And, you know, with illegal immigration in our country at an all-time high, you know, there have been illegal immigrants inside of HUD-funded housing. And so that is something that we are looking at very closely.
Okay, so can you talk about the budget cuts and the things that are going on? I know that DOJ reported and that they worked with you, and you cut near $2 billion in spending right away. You found what's happening right now with the spending cuts and Doge.
Right, and so we have a Doge task force at HUD.
Yeah.
And we identified $260 million in savings, and then another $1.9 billion in misplaced funds from the Biden administration, which we're working on to return back to the Treasury to use for the American people. And so we are heavy at work every day in finding all waste, fraud, and abuse inside of HUD, and we have a great partnership with those.
What does a Doge task force look like? Are you these the computer nerds who are poorly dressed? As President Trump and Elon Musk were explaining, are they in your office? Are you talking to these guys?
Well, we have a Doge team inside of HUD. We also have a team at HUD, HUD employees that are part of the Doge task force. So we're working hand in hand with Doge to identify these savings.
So how does it work? Doge finds something, and then they come to you and they say, hey, we found something you should take a look at.
Well, we're working together to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sure are.
That's amazing. Okay, so housing and urban development, you're trying to get control of all this homelessness. Also, I see that there are reports that you're trying to trim the workforce. That's not a secret. The whole federal government is trying to trim the workforce.
The entire federal government is.
And we've seen some of the the industry publications are claiming that HUD is going to try and cut 50% of the workforce. What is the actual number? Do you have a sense of how many you plan to cut?
No, we don't. We're gonna, we have to streamline every program, personnel, maximize the budget. So that's just part of the overall vision for HUD. Is to make sure that we are properly serving the people that we've been called to serve. And so that's from personnel, from the budget, technology, and all of those things, programs, contracts. And so that's what we're working on at HUD right now.
You have one of the coolest careers ever.
Thank you.
I mean, I can't even believe this man. 9 seasons in the NFL?
Yeah.
9 seasons, 3 with the Redskins. You played the single most physically demanding position. You played
Single
corner.
most.
Right? Am I right?
Yes, you are.
That's the most impressive physically.
Yes.
You had an interception for a touchdown. I know that. You had a great career. And then you go on to the Texas State Legislature. You worked with President Trump in the first administration. You're back now as the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Which of these jobs has been the toughest?
They all have their tough spots. Every one of them is challenging, but every one of them is rewarding. And I'm so blessed to have experienced all these various careers. But really, they've all kind of played into one another. Playing in the NFL has prepared me, for the assignments that I had because I know how to work on a team.
Yes.
I understand how to be humble in victory, and strong in defeat. And to serve my teammates, and you become a great leader, once you become a great servant. And so I'm really grateful to be here.
And physical toughness helps you in everything else, doesn't it?
100%. Mental toughness and physical toughness are key. And playing in NFL was nothing short of that.
All right, Secretary Scott Turner, what a pleasure to talk to you, meet you today. Housing and Urban Development. Good to talk to you, sir.